Welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pen Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome back to the Pen Leader Podcast. Today we've got a special guest, Mr. Shawn Smith, who is not only a leader in his field of work, which is insurance, but he's also a leader on the field. So we're going to be talking in our show today called Making the Call. Shawn currently works at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. He's a manager, group customer advocate, and performance. In addition, he is a professional job as the auditor and an NFL game official. He's worked in the NFL since 2015, and he's been a crew chief since 2018 season. He's been in the Big Ten, he's been in the MAC, he's been in a number of conferences, and we're going to get to some of those conferences and experiences as well. He is a native of Detroit. He actually is also earned a Bachelor's of Science in Accounting from Ferris State University, and he became a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He is a father, he's a husband, and he's probably one of the most busiest people I know. So welcome to the show, Shawn.
Thank you.
So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what are you passionate about? Because you have a whole list of things that you do.
Oh, yeah. And it's hard to narrow it down to one thing, but I'm passionate about, many things. First and foremost, being a father, being a husband, a brother. Family is very important to me. So just, I'm very passionate about family and just being close to my family and being able to, help others and grow. And then I'm also passionate about growing in my professional career. I have as you mentioned, I have an accounting degree. I've worked at large accounting firms. I've worked in different industries, whether it's manufacturing or financial services or utilities. Passionate about continuing to grow as a professional. And then I also officiate. And that was something that if you would have asked me 25 years ago, I probably would have laughed at you if you would have told me, hey, you'll be an NFL official. But I'm passionate about officiating as well.
Well, with that passion that you took onto the field, obviously, is it one of your prized accomplishments? You've got a number of accomplishments.
Yeah, it's one of the prized accomplishments. It's one that gets the most attention. Being an NFL official and being a crew chief, you're the face of the crew. Your face is on television in front of a lot of folks, so people get a chance to see you and they think they know you. But, I have a lot of accomplishments coming from where I came from, born and raised in Detroit, born and raised in the projects in Detroit, where not many of my friends were made it out and were able to go to school and get an education and make it to those stages is, that I'm just very grateful and thankful to be able to make it out as a professional. There were so many things that were pulling at us as kids. So to be able to, make it, to get a college degree and be one of the first in the family to have a college degree and to, get a professional job and just the officiating was the icing on the top.
Yeah, it's an amazing accomplishment when you can go off to college and be the first generation. It's not like you have someone who can tell you all about the ropes, right?
Exactly.
So you led the way.
Yes. So it was weird, but figured it out. Along the way, I had some of the best days in college. And became an alpha. So that's near and dear to my heart. That's molded me and shaped me in such great ways, and just brought me to where I am today. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Well, let's talk about your leadership, because you are a leader also off the field. Mm-hmm. And you talked about being with teams and being a crew chief. I know I single-handedly done so much work in trying to make sure to bring others into the fields. And both, I know, on the insurance side, you're mentoring, but also on the field. And so can you talk about the qualities that you look for in the roles when you see someone, you make a recommendation, hey, you should think about this job?
Yeah, officiating is one of those avocations and like I say, a passion that I have that I didn't necessarily think about, years ago. It wasn't until I was done with sports, running track or playing football, that I decided to get into officiating. And I had no idea that I would enjoy it the way that I did, and that it would give me the satisfaction, the things that I was missing from my playing days. Just being a part of the game. So when I meet young men or women who are former athletes or that are part of the sport, I always try to, mention something about officiating as a potential opportunity for them if they're interested in getting involved in the game or being a part of it. Because I know for me, when I was in my early 20s, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I wanted to be a coach. I had no idea about being an official. So when I see some of those folks that have some of those characteristics, I ask them, hey, maybe you want to give it some thought about officiating. You can be a part of the game, you can grow, you can meet a ton of folks, and it's amazing what some of the benefits that you'll get from officiating.
Mm-hmm. I think the characteristics when you're talking about not only leading, but actually being part of a team, and some of those characteristics also with being able to rely on your team members. You don't always have the answers. And so it's really critically important. I think that plays out in the industry as well, business, higher education, just being able to be part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Exactly. And, I didn't necessarily see myself as a leader, early on. I just became a person that wanted to do things the right way. I've always been that way. Always tried to walk a narrow road and walk a straight line. And it was someone that identified some leadership characteristics in me. And when they approached me about being a leader, I at first, kind of pushed it away. Like, no, I don't want to do that. That means I got to be responsible. I got to be the adult. But another one of my mentors, encouraged me to take on that challenge. I'm forever grateful that he did, because they saw something in me that I didn't realize that I had. But when I look at myself, I do see myself as a leader because of one of my characteristics that, I try to identify qualities in individuals and different strengths and weaknesses. Like I said at the top of the meeting, I'm a family person. I believe in people. Mm-hmm. And I always try to help people in any way that I can to try to help them reach some of their goals. And if there's anything that I can share from some of the experiences in life, lessons that I've learned, then I try to share that with them. Or because, like as I mentioned, I've been in different industries and different professions. I've seen a lot, so I try to use what I've seen and experienced and pay it forward and share that with some others that may be able to benefit from that. Whether it's in sports, whether it's in corporate America, I just try to help folks to understand how to build relationships with others, how to mentor, establish, whether it's you being a mentee or a mentor, how do you help others? Because one of the things that I've learned is that being a mentor, I've learned just as much from my mentees as they get from me, and I probably get more from them. So I try to encourage others to make sure that you make those connections and make sure that you have more than just one mentor that you're connected with, because you get different aspects and nuggets from different people, and then you just, you take a piece from this person, a piece from that person, you put it all together, and then it becomes yours, it becomes you. So that's one of the biggest things that I like doing, is just learning and from others and connecting with different people to see how I can leverage some of their abilities and ways to grow and develop.
Well, I've been blessed to watch you do that work firsthand in pouring into others and encouraging others. And I think that's a great point about multi-mentors, multi-dimensional mentors. I like to call it creating your own board of directors.
Sure.
So that you can have that ability to have someone who's from the different industries or areas and then that, it's great because you're your own business, right?
Absolutely.
Your own brand. And so their strengths can help you strengthen in those areas that might be weaker. What are the youngest ones that when you pour into others and you say, you should think about being an official and think about a career, going to school? How young are you working with individuals right now?
So we'll go back. I'll go back to high school juniors, high school seniors. I was part of a group. I went and met with some young group in Rockford, Illinois, a couple of years ago, and they had a program where they were developing and teaching high schoolers as well as college students how to become officials. And they were starting them off with little peewee flag football, and then they were working them up through the ranks. And as they continued to grow and develop, then they would bring in the next group of officials, but they would, just showing them what it took to become an official. And I thought it was great, but I'll go back to, because one of the things that you attract young folks with is that money.
Yes.
And you tell them, hey, you can make X amount of dollars, you can control your schedule. And if you're passionate about the sport or if you like the sport, then you can be a part of the game. And normally when you mention those things, you typically get some interest. And that, they get in there and they make a few extra dollars and they can control their schedule or they're not tied down. And then they realize, hey, I like this. And sometimes they'll say, hey, I don't like it. But it's those are the things that I try to get them at all different stages of life, because you just don't know. Try to get some that are in high school, try to get some that are in college, get some that are just out of college, or some that maybe didn't go to college, but folks that are involved in sports or were involved in sports that like sports. Those are the folks that I try to go after.
Well, it's not quite at epidemic portions, but I do know I've heard in just anecdotal conversations about the challenges with finding officials, not just in football, but across the board in all types of sports. And so are you seeing that too? I mean, you travel so much and work in the world of officiating. Are you finding that?
Yes. That's our biggest challenge right now, is getting folks to become officials and to sign up, because there's a lot of things that you have to deal with, especially, and I'm not going to just call out basketball, but I would say in the basketball, you can't have elephant ears. You can't listen to everything that you hear from the stands and everything that folks are saying. You got to stay focused on the job at hand. And sometimes folks are intimidated when they hear those things. And they have those, what I'm calling elephant ears, that everyone is saying in the arena, and they get distracted from the task at hand. But in officiating, and as you learn the business, you learn what control you have, and when the game is being played, it's your game. You're responsible for managing it, and you have all control. So if things get out of hand, whether it's on the court or off the court, you can get the game administration folks involved to get those things handled. So you don't necessarily know that early on, but it takes some time. It takes experience to really learn what control you have and how you can control those situations. But that in itself is a little intimidating to some of the folks, because they don't want to necessarily deal with that. So we try to get out and we try to educate, whether it's parents, coaches, players, on just the importance of what officials are. We try to get them to understand that we're partners in this. You can't have a game without officials. We're just guardians of the game. We're no different than players, coaches, anyone that's part of the game. We all make mistakes. Players miss shot, players drop balls, players throw interceptions. We miss a call or two. Coaches make bad calls. It's just the human element. The misfortune that we don't have is that we can't go back and watch replay and do it over again.
Right.
And neither can the players. But that's the business that we signed up for, and that's what we're in. But we try to use that when we're educating officials. So when we work our camps and clinics and we're out doing recruiting, those are some of the things that we're trying to educate folks on. Because if you're not a part of it and you've seen it from afar, then it may be a little bit intimidating.
Well, I think you mentioned in a couple of statements there about a good pin leader. One of them being having the education.
Sure.
And the experience.
Sure.
Because there's so much work to get the call right.
Sure.
Hours and hours of study time and film watching and making sure. And I think that's critically important. And that's how individuals rise. You tighten the game up, you study, and you study again. I'd like to ask you a question about the challenges. It can be stressful too. I think you mentioned it's not for everyone.
No.
It's not for everyone. And so you need to know thyself,
Sure.
right? And
Sure.
what triggers. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about officiating and they want to get started and they're trying to figure out, is this something I do want to get involved in football, or I want to stay in football? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I would say you would give it a try and give it more than one try. It's like anything else. Anything worth having, it's going to be a challenge. But to me, when you're being challenged, that means you're growing. That means you're developing. So it's going to come with the obstacles at the beginning. But I would say put forth the effort. Don't just, I would say, step away if things don't go right the first time. Don't turn around. Just keep going, learn from your mistakes, and keep building. Because I can relate to my first time ever officiating a football game. I was a fish out of water. I had no clue because I was just felt so uncomfortable. I felt so out of place, and I'm like, I've been a part of this game for a long time, and I've never felt like this. But when it was all said and done, I was happy, and I came back, and I continued to grow, and I continued to learn, and I was fortunate to be surrounded with the right folks that wanted to invest in me and wanted to help me, grow as an official, and it worked. So that would be the main message that I would convey to someone that's first starting out is just don't be discouraged when things don't go right as soon as you start, but just make the commitment to getting better and developing and give it a fair shot.
Excellent. Well, I've got to ask you because you do extracurricular beyond, again, the work, you're working in officiating, you have a family, but do you have time to read or watch anything? What are you reading? What do you read to sharpen your skills?
So I'm not besides the rule book, I'm not the biggest reader, I would say, but I'm always interested in success stories. So, and the challenges that folks, go through to achieve the goals that they've accomplished in life. So I'm always intrigued by, a great story, a great success story. Because like I said, I look at myself and I look at where I came from. And, when I go back to my neighborhood and see some of the folks that I grew up with, I realized that I was one of the blessed ones and I was very fortunate to make it there. So I'm always interested in someone's story and how they got to where they become. So I like to bend their ears, or if it's, if I can find the story on the internet or anything like that, I'm always intrigued by just hearing the different stories because everyone is so different and everyone's path is so different. And I love to hear how someone got from A to Z, and knowing that that person's path was much different than the other person. And that's the story that I like to share with young folks is there's more than one way to get to where you want to go. And that's, it's like driving a car. You can drive from Detroit to Toledo down 75, or you can go down 23, or you can go a longer way. It takes, telegraph, but there's so many ways to get to where you want to go. And don't be fixated on this is the way that I have to go, but be adaptable and flexible and know that you're going to have some obstacles along the way, but don't let those deter you. Just keep going. If you get knocked down, get back up and just, keep moving down the road. So that's what I'm always attracted to is just the good success stories that I see out there.
And there's a lot of what I also believe you can attract individuals that think that way too. And I think you've accumulated a number of great people that actually help with the great work that you're doing in the camps and to educate those in the world of officiating and how to manage. I think one of the pieces I know that we work on with a number of clients is that emotional intelligence and understanding. You've seen so much, and so that comes with sharpening that point of understanding. You just got to keep at it, even when you feel like you're getting a little dull.
Yeah.
This is a little dull and it can be tough. So, really kudos to all the work that you're doing.
No, thank you. And I express that, especially even in the business world, whether you're in corporate America or you're officiating, you always have to continue to grow and develop. Things are changing every day. There's always going to be someone that's coming for your particular job, or there's going to be different things that you got to learn. So if you get to the point where you think you figured it all out, then it's time to go and do something else because it's always changing. It's always evolving. And like one of my things is if I always say to myself and I express to my kids is like, hey, if you're not trying to get better, then you're getting worse because things are always moving. And, tomorrow is going to be different than today. And you got to expect that. You got to embrace it and you got to challenge yourself to become better at whatever it is that you're doing. And That's whether you're a husband, a father, official, or you're a manager, whatever it is. That's my motto, and that's how I try to carry myself every day.
Excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing those wonderful words of wisdom. I'm really hoping that if listeners, if you love football and you watch football, that you think about those officials, all the hard work they're doing to get the call right and to do justice to the game. And to think about it if you're in the field and thinking, can I officiate? Explore those possibilities. Like I said, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Excellent. So at this point, remember to like and share the show with others. We really appreciate your feedback and thoughts concerning the show and any recommendations that you have. And you can do that at info@MaysAssociatesLTD.com. Until next time.
The Pen Leader Podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates LTD, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.MaysAssociatesLTD.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader Podcast and share with others.